Hi everyone, I'm Virginia Warren, a lawyer and conflict alchemist and co-founder of Lawyers for Love. And we are doing a Moments of Love moment today from Australia. And I have the absolute pleasure of introducing to you Eric Postow, I apologize. Now, being loving in law comes in many forms, and Lawyers for Love are showcasing lawyers and attorneys, lawyers, legal practitioners, attorneys. We've got different names for the same job around the world, of how they're bringing love into their legal practices, and they're doing it in unique ways. And so this is amazing. I'm meeting the most amazing people. Now, Eric is an attorney in Washington, D.C., and is a principal of a solo legal practice. Eric has been an attorney since 2016, following a 7-year career in the US military. That's really amazing. His legal practice focuses on helping entrepreneurs realize their visions with some legal support. He likes being able to talk with people who have passion and a desire to create something, and helps them in whatever way he can, whether through contract revisions, assisting with negotiations, or agreement drafting. As far as love in the law is concerned, he thinks the most important reminder for him, or for any creators, is that creation itself is love. And I absolutely love that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The desire to bring about something new, to turn dreams into realities, and to take active steps toward a new tomorrow are things that interest him and drive him in his work. He believes love is at the center of the universe. And when we remember that and act with that as a centering point, we create what will be a reflection of that love, and hopefully will be felt by others through the ages. And I think that's so wonderful to hear. We couldn't agree more. Lawyers for Love, we say love is of the essence. And that's what we're about. So I want to ask you, Eric, firstly, going into the military, what was your drive to go there? What happened? What was your journey into the military? And tell me about that.
Well, first of all, Virginia, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and talk to your audience about these really novel concepts. I don't think most people connect legal systems and love as an idea, as a concept in and of itself, but it certainly should be intertwined, because if you're entering into a relationship with anybody, whether it's an agreement to work together or not work against each other, then your care and concern for that person should be at the center of that agreement. But to your question, I was in the United States Marine Corps, and for me it was the right thing at the right time. I had within myself ideas of who I was, and I thought that I had certain intangibles that I thought could fit with what I understood the Marine Corps to be. And for the United States, I'm biased, of course, but to me, when I was looking at the branches, the Marine Corps felt like one that had the most connectivity to each other as individuals, a stronger, more present, more available ethos that you could actually grab hold of. I liked the concept that every Marine was a rifleman. Every Marine was essentially the same, regardless of rank or status or where you came from. And in 7 years, I got to do just a tremendous amount, including I worked with the Aussies. I got to go to Australia and hang out with some of your brothers and sisters, and really learn how much beer could be drank in one sitting.
Yeah, they're good.
But I think it was the last thing I did in the Marine Corps that really hit it home. I worked in recruiting. I ran recruiting operations out of Virginia, which is on the East Coast of the United States, and got to see who it was that was making up the ranks, who was volunteering, because we were a volunteer force, and it was a smattering of everybody, from all different walks of life, privileged class, less privileged class, underrepresented people in society at large who could fully find themselves in a seemingly equitable situation. Everyone was at the bottom, at least as a recruit. But I might have just gone on a little long with that answer, but that was
No, that's beautiful, because I love how you said that, yeah, it was a level playing field, because that is so opposite to the legal profession.
yeah.
So how did you then move from this level playing field where everything is uniform, if you like, and everyone has a place and a use, and there's a respect to that,
Well,
to the legal profession as we know it?
I think it was more about finding myself and at the right time, at the right moment, saying yes to something, pulling a string and seeing where that would lead. Law school was that string. And it wasn't like I went to law school with some very clear vision of what I was going to do. And I think it's easy for law students to think they're going to take on the world and all these lofty, novel things, and even concepts of corporate law that are powerful people and powerful business and all this stuff. So I went in really as an opportunity to unravel and unwind from a 7 year career. But really, I was 29, 28 when I, somewhere in there, went to law school. And, I hadn't had a break from my life until then. I went, you grow up, you go to school, you go to college, you join the Marine Corps. And for the next 7 years, I'm doing that. So this was the first time where there was a deliberate pause, an intentional pause, where all I had to do was learn about the fabric of society and how it works and how it operates. And I started thinking about who those people were that we put in the Marine Corps, and it started to hit home that a lot of them were poor people, poor kids that were looking for an opportunity to get out of the situation where they were at. They were running away a lot of times, and maybe not just running away, but running towards something. And it was those people that I started thinking more about. Who are these people in different segments of society who are overlooked, who have a lot of obstacles in their way? And so I focused on civil rights and property in law school, property law and things like that, and started seeing how land has been used against people. I don't know if you know this, but in World War II, when the GIs came back home, they were given lots of grants, sometimes property, money for school and things like that, unless you were black, and they didn't get the
Oh,
same things.
no.
So they could sacrifice the same ways and come together for the greater good, but uh, not be granted the same fruits of their labor when they returned.
Wow.
And it's still playing out that way. And so you learn
Yeah.
that land, in particular, could be used to prop some people up, keep some people down, and it's still unfolding in our society. So that is where my focus on the law was, and then ending law school and opening up a very small and intimate practice. I just connected with people who wanted to change the world, who looked at what was going on and saying, we don't have to do it this way. We could do it a totally different way.
Yeah.
So ideas that I wanted to promote in my own life simply was freedom of mind, the freedom to choose the universe that we're actually in, and to support those who I thought were actively choosing a universe that I could align with. Um, and often their creation was just from a loving place. It was an expression of their love for the earth that they're on and the place, the people that they know, and what could be. I don't know if that answered your
Yeah.
question, but
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to the other question in a minute, because I love what you were saying. It's, particularly going into the military, you see that poor people or socioeconomic group are going into the military because they're looking for something. And isn't it, when you said that to me, it just reminds me of what we're all looking for. And I don't seem to think it matters who you are, race, color, creed, doesn't matter, culture, doesn't matter. We're all looking for love. We're all moving toward love. We do things because we think we will feel better in the doing of it. Now, some of those things, when we choose to do them, are someone else's choices. So often we're making our parents' choices, not our own choices. And when we're doing that, we're doing things that we think will give us love. And perhaps going into those people that are going into the military, they're looking perhaps for structure, someone who cares. It may be some of that. But you're right. I think the legal system is the absolute place where we can show where the love is to be found. Because you're perhaps working in a different area. You're working in creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, because you're saying that, creativity is love. But don't you think you have to be authentic to be creative? As I was just saying a moment ago, if we're making someone else's choices, we're not our best creative. And I think, if you've got the opportunity to perhaps show an entrepreneur, I don't know what your practice really involves, but if you're showing somebody, how to build something with nobody's agenda in mind, it's theirs, it's their baby, their creation, and you're helping birth it, I think that's really a beautiful way of using the law to do it. But often we see in contract, I think, and this is where lawyers for love are saying, if we make love as of the essence, the foundation of these documents, then we're making decisions based in love, because very often our contracts are me versus you. If something goes wrong, then I'm going to punish you. So what do you think about all of that? Which I'm trying to soften contracts so that they're more flowing rather than structured, because I think our system is structured and we're based in fear.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy thing, because it requires both parties to want to do that in the first place. Yep. If one party comes in with the idea that I need to protect myself from all the ways in which you're going to harm me, well, then the mindset is already established that I believe you're going to harm me. So trust isn't there to begin with. So if you start talking about love is of the essence, and I don't trust anything you're saying, then it won't matter. So the parties have to buy in to this idea. And so I think as far as attorneys who want that, seeking out people, building the networks of people that want to make agreements based on those founding principles. Person A wants to accomplish one, and he needs or she needs person B to accomplish one. So they both have a mutually agreed upon end, that one thing needs to be accomplished, and they require each other in order to do that.
Because you were saying before as well that law is about relationship. It is about relationship, and it's personal relationship, contractual relationship, relationship with the state, relationship with your animals. It's all about relationship. Absolutely. And what I'm finding is there's 2 points to this. Even in a personal relationship, if we're going into a partnership, in a personal relationship, an intimate relationship, and we're saying, well, we know 30 years down the track we're still going to be in love and we're still going to be the same people. Who's got the crystal ball? Who can predict that? I don't know. They're great people if they can, because we're all growing and moving at different rates and we're doing things differently. And the thing is to hold somebody into a contract or that relationship is to only do yourself a disservice, because for two reasons. One, you're trying to take that person's power. And the other is, if you let them flow out of the relationship, then you've just created space for yourself to continue growing at your rate where you're supposed to be, rather than keeping the resistance in this structure, which has no energy, has no positive energy in it any longer. And this is where I'm saying, if we look at it from this different point of view, because ultimately if people want out of a contract, they're getting out, but there's going to be a great fight. There's discord, there's suing people, there's litigation. It's distasteful. It's breaking down communities.
Yeah.
Whereas if we work in these agreements that flow, yeah, of course we're checking in with each other all the time. And what's for my highest good? What's for yours? You know, are we still flowing together through this arrangement? Because ultimately that's what we all want, isn't it? We all want to be happy. And if we're flowing in love in that space, because what Lawyers for Love are describing love from a legal point of view, because of course lawyers want something to get their brain around. We're saying love is a state of being without fear, that operates for the highest good of all in each moment, because love can only be momentary. Life is momentary, people. I'm curious as to how I can lock somebody in on an agreement for a certain amount of time and we're all still going to be in the same positions, because we're flowing beings. The universe flows. We all flow. Look at what COVID just did. COVID just showed us.
Think about those agreements, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I had to
What's interesting is a lot of agreements literally people they kind of threw their hands up. And almost in an act of love is like, well, this was an act of God. That's an interesting contract clause, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's an act of God, but you could have an act of love.
Yeah.
There's other interesting concepts. If you think of the attorney's position, attorneys are often in negotiations the peace broker, right?
Yeah.
But in what you're suggesting, they potentially could be the love broker.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Holding the space.
If they're hoping both sides come to that meeting point, where you're, I think underneath all of that, what is love and what's the attorney's role? It's the care and concern for the individuals, for the people, their life, their friends, the energy that they have, the experience on this planet. If the attorney puts the care and concern and awareness and treats that person with that kind of respect and what they're trying to accomplish, actually cares about it and loves it themselves, then I think you get closer to negotiating and navigating waters that are complex, but you do it from a place where you're going to resolve it in a loving way because you care. And a lot of times attorneys have a bad reputation for not showing that care and concern. It's just another situation. It's just another transaction.
Yeah.
Well, if you think everything's a transaction, there's no relationship in that.
That's so true. That's so true. And we've been discussing as well that the reason why lawyers are having a bad reputation, I believe, is because of that, the disconnect. We are disconnecting people from, you're talking in contract, you're building, you're creating.
Right.
But I often see it in litigious matters when it all falls apart. But for me, that's the gold in the relationship, showing people, okay, so the conflict's arisen. This is a perfect time for you to step back and look at your own reaction to life, because that's where you grow. The person is in your life for a reason. Let's look at that. And and this is
that's a good concept.
Yeah, this is where we're looking at it also, because when you need to make a decision moving forward, you've got to look at, okay, what happened here? This person was angry with me and I reacted. I don't want that in my life. I'm rejecting that. And then and you're living in a place of fear. And we say love is a state of being without fear. So how do I look at this to say, oh, wow, okay, I've just learned that I disconnected from my own anger and so I don't accept it. There's a whole range of beautiful healings for people to engage in these spaces. And Lawyers for Love call it your internal legal system. We say from when you're young, the tribe, your parents, the teachers, the people around you are saying things like, boys don't cry, for example. That's my classic go-to. And girls don't get angry. And when I see relationship breakdown, they're the first two things I look at. So what rules have you created, kids? Because they're your children still acting out. Particularly for men, it's the boys don't cry. And so they've gone through their childhood knowing I've got to be strong and tough and I don't cry, I don't show emotion, I don't connect with that. So their response is anger. We've disconnected men from their emotions. Yeah.
Yes.
And so when I see a domestic relationship going pear-shaped and there's usually the anger from a man, it's, oh, he was just simply taught. He was just wanting to express emotion but didn't know how.
That's true.
And it's usually the woman who's suppressed her own anger because she wasn't allowed to be angry. And she's rejecting it then in the man. It's the perfect design. And so she's then become the enabler, the good person, because she's been told, don't assert yourself, don't do all these things, don't stand up for yourself. And so it's the perfect dynamic there for them both to heal and then to move through life accepting, oh, a woman can assert herself and a man can actually show some emotion. It's okay to feel more whole now. But that relationship showed you.
And what happens when you let yourself experience these emotions? What's the one thing that comes out of that? Empathy.
That's exact compassion.
Empathy. If you can feel all of those emotions, anger, happy, joy, hostility, frustration, depression, sadness, jubilation, rage, any emotion.
Yes.
And you can go inside and understand, what is this that's happening? What is it that I'm feeling? Well, who is it that's feeling anyway? But another question, what is it that I'm feeling? And got it. Now when I see another experiencing these things, I have a sense of care. I empathize. I know what that feeling is, that feeling of loss, that feeling of rage in that moment, of frustration, of sadness. I've experienced it within myself, and I can feel it for what's happening. I can experience your feelings right now, and I can come towards you, and I can help you heal. And isn't that a role a lawyer can play?
Yes, that's what we're saying, because lawyers are trained, of course, in left brain thinking, logic, rationale, critical thinking. I mean, and that's what we do. But then we're also shown in a relationship, when it comes to the relationship breakdown, take the emotion out of that when you're dealing with it. Now, how can that work? Because you effectively got a half a human dealing with half a problem. It's just not reality. Yeah.
And there's emotions in every agreement, every coming together. There's big emotions. People put their dreams, their livelihoods, their investments, their money, their energy, their care and concern into building something, creating something. And there's a lot of letting go in order to take that step. It's of course emotion. If you take it out, well, you're taking out the lifeblood of this whole thing.
That's right. And someone said to me once, I had a lawyer say to me once, yeah, but isn't this like all psychology? And I said, well, yes, they could probably go to a counsellor, but what happens is they have a legal problem. It all manifests in a legal problem first. And people come to their lawyers. So, and lawyers are at the coalface of the relationship breakdown, of the place where the emotion resides. And we're disconnected from ourselves, our communities, like you just said before. It's like going into the relationship, feeling, how is this going to be for your family? How is it for, the community? What are you building here? It's going to, because whatever affects you affects me.
Sure.
We're all connected. So it's not as if we as lawyers are disconnected from society. We are one of the members of society. So whatever you're doing is affecting me. So, of course, I have an investment in that. And this is what I say when people want to get out of a relationship, is that, okay, then you can go over there and be your authentic self. And guess what that's going to do? That's only going to help me. Because if you're being your unique self on this planet, it does something wonderful for the planet, which in turn does something wonderful for me. So, but if I'm trying to keep you as mine or keep you in this business contract, because I was going to make a lot of money out of you or something like this, I might be able to hold on to that for a while, but ultimately there's a whole lot of deconstruction that's going to happen and it's not going to be pretty. So we can look at this from a different way. And yeah, building things up. As Gandhi said, the true function of a lawyer is to unite parties riven asunder. I love that saying, because this is, I think, what we weren't taught in law school. We weren't taught that this is about community and bringing people together. So it's, I'm very passionate about it. I'm passionate because I think I'm just seeing too many lawyers depressed and suicidal, which means the system isn't working. If you're in a job that you don't want to bounce out of bed for every morning and say, yes, I'm getting on with this creativity in my life, don't you question effectively you're prostituting yourself. What are you doing? What are you doing? Is it for the money or the prestige? Well, I don't know what that's worth. What is that worth to you? Don't know. Yes. But I absolutely love what you're doing, and the approach that you have to contract, especially. That's so beautiful. And it's just, I'm meeting so many different lawyers that are bringing in so many different little angles. And I'm just loving talking to everybody and saying, yeah, look, it's out there. And as I spoke to you before, there's quite a few lawyers out there that are wanting to make a shift but don't know how. And they're not alone.
Well, it's hard. I mean, and it's fear-based, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So, and the first thing to do is acknowledge you're afraid. If you're scared, say you're scared. Yeah. And then start exploring, what are you actually afraid of? What is it that's driving this anxiety or this fear? Instead of being present with an opportunity to put love and care into something, why is it that you're afraid that doing that will lead to an outcome of shame or embarrassment or who knows what?
Yeah, some people are making their parents' choices for them. Just like, oh, and everyone expected me to do this. But you ask yourself the question, I think, is, if I had no fear, what would I do? And that is, I think,
freedom, right?
The best. Yeah, that's the best part of authenticity that I've only learned. I'm 54 and I've just figured it out in the last couple of years. If I had no fear, what would I do? And now I'm doing it.
Here you are.
Yeah, here I am. And I love my life because of that. And
wonderful.
I wouldn't change a thing. So this is, ask yourself every day, if I had no fear, and every question I come across, if I feel a little bit, I always operate on the mantra, in every moment, how do I feel? And there's a little bit of a negative pause. It's like, okay, is that a fear? Question myself. What am I feeling? Feel it. And then think, that's my guidance, number one. Where am I going? I've got to always go to where I'm feeling good. And I give my legal clients and people in this space that advice, because the trouble is, of course, lawyers, we've disconnected from all that emotion, our feeling selves. So we've got to get back to that and understand who we are.
Tell me if you agree with this. It's because it sounds like you do. And this is really a driving principle of my practice, and that I don't mean legal practice, I mean spiritual practice. What it sounds like you're describing is that because you were able to identify fear was preventing you from living your most authentic life, that once you moved beyond the fear, that you were more intentional with your choices, more aware of the choices that you were making, and more accepting of the outcomes of those choices because you knew you were making them intentionally. Does that feel accurate?
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely true. And because I dropped the fear, it meant I dropped the rule. Now, when we're in children, we've created the rules, and the rules are based on what the tribe told us. And I go back to boys don't cry. So we drop that rule, that we've got a fear of doing something because it might make us emotional, for example, feel emotion. So we don't want to do that. So that's the fear we have. So as soon as we've dropped the fear, we've effectively dropped the rule that someone else created. It's someone else's choice that you weren't to feel that emotion. And then all the choices open up to you, because you don't care what anyone thinks anymore. You genuinely don't. If you're living your authentic life, it's just like, whoa, look at this plate of choices before me. I can do anything I want because I don't care what anyone thinks. Because if you think about it, the rules, you walk into a room, right, you're in a party, you walk in and everyone might be judging what you just said, what you're wearing, all these rules people have got running. You can't please them all. You can't do it. So you're best off, you're feeling your happiest when you have dropped all the rules, all your fears, and just say, okay, this is the blank canvas. This is me. What do I want?
Yeah.
We've only got so much life to live. Let's live it.
That's universe creation.
Yeah.
We are actively creating the universe every single day.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Actively.
We are.
And through your choices. You make a choice and you follow that choice and you follow that choice. And next thing you know, that first choice is now your universe, as you can see with what you're doing. Yeah. This is now the universe that you're in, and here I am. I just appeared in your universe.
In my universe, that's right. Yeah. Because I created this, and I've drawn in all these beautiful humans into my life because I dropped the fear. I'm not living what someone else says I should have lived. And I think
likewise,
this is amazing.
I and people in this position made a choice to come into this space.
Yes.
And now this is part of mine. So that's how it's working.
Your reality, my reality. And it's absolutely, if people look at their lives, this is a reality they're creating at every moment. Mm-hmm. That's what people don't realize. They say, oh, karma's going to get me. But the thing is, if you're reacting to something negatively, your world looks negative. It isn't rocket science. It's just as simple as that. Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. But if you're running those programs, those rules, the internal legal system, it is, oh, that's bad because someone told me. Someone told me when I was growing up. So they're unconscious rules. We know that. They're unconscious. You don't know that you have them, but you do know when you start feeling bad all the time. You think, okay, right, where's the rule I created there? So, it's a beautiful journey to find those things. But yeah, I absolutely love this work. And so now, so we probably need to start wrapping up because we've been chatting a lot, and I love that. I love that we have, because it's been a beautiful flow. Do you have any tips for lawyers out there that are afraid to take the next step? What would you say would be an ideal thing for them to do?
Well, that's actually a really deep question.
Yeah, it is.
I think that.
What did you do?
Well, I went inward. And I would recommend that not just for lawyers, but for anybody. Go inside, start, facing the emotions and the feelings that you have instead of hiding from them or burying them. Start to understand, how the mind actually works, how it is that you form thoughts. Find your own biases. Find the places where you're judging something for zero reason, and then ask yourself, why do I have this judgment? I think if you start there, that will lead into a practice naturally. It'll naturally flow into the idea that I see these others no longer as separate from me. I see them as an extension of me. I want the best for them. I'm going to show care and love and concern for them. This is my way of doing it. I'll come towards them if I'm doing a negotiation or a contract or bringing two parties together under an agreement. Then I can bring us all closer together, or I believe that that's my purpose, is to try and to help both sides see the mutual beneficial relationship and how you can strengthen that versus how you can look for ways where you want to one up the other person or something like that. So I think start with yourself. And treat yourself the way that we're talking about. We want lawyers to treat their clients and people out there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like to say, put your own oxygen mask on first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Eric. Now, just to close out, I just want to say that, Eric, you've told me you prefer a closer circle of connections in your practice. So if anyone's in the Washington area and they want an attorney who's authentic and will put you first, you can get in touch with him via email. And I'm going to cleverly put this up on the screen right now. She says, no, she didn't save it, but I'll put it in the chat later on. And consciouslawyer@gmail.com. And it's been so beautiful talking to you today, Eric. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, take care.
Mhm.